Hey guys, welcome back to Games of War. Today's episode we're going to take a look at my ever-growing 3DS collection. I'm a huge handheld gamer. I always have been, dating back to the original Game Boy and Atari Lynx. The Game Boy Advance and the Nintendo DS are probably some of my favorite collections that I own. Tons of great role-playing games, strategy RPGs, text adventures are found only on portables, and Nintendo is at the top of the game when it comes to handheld systems. Now, as far as the 3DS collection goes, I have a Zelda model and a Pokemon model. These are kind of new-in-the-box backup systems. As for games, let's go ahead and get started. The 3DS is performing incredibly well right now for Nintendo, and it's making gamers happy all across the world, but it definitely came stumbling out of the gate when it launched back in early 2011. A pretty weak overall launch lineup and a pretty high price point made a lot of gamers say, you know what, I'm going to either wait for a price drop, or hey, we know Nintendo redesigns their handhelds, we're going to wait for a redesign. Now myself, I went ahead and picked one up as soon as it was available. Back then, it's funny, 3D was like the big buzzword. All the movies were in 3D. Sony was really pushing 3D gaming on the home console, and 3D TVs were taking off. It seemed like 3D was the next big thing for gaming and everything else multimedia. However, a couple years later, it seems like 3D has really died a fast death. Gaming is nowhere near 3D these days. Nobody even talks about it. There's still movies being released in 3D, but overall, most people I talk to don't even use the 3D feature on the 3DS. I myself really enjoy the 3D. The slider is always up in games I play. I just really enjoy, and I'm happy that Nintendo made a 3D capable system. So for the launch lineup, I chose Steel Diver and Pilot Wings. Now I'm probably one of 5 people that actually really like Steel Diver. It's not an incredibly long game, there's not a lot of content, but what's there I really enjoy. I like piloting the submarine, using the stylus controls to maneuver through the underwater oceans are great. It's just a fun game in my opinion, and I'd like to see a sequel, even though it's not going to happen, with some more fleshed out ideas, maybe some better boss battles, maybe Journey to Atlantis below, something cool. But I really enjoyed Steel Diver, and I'm happy that I own it. Pilot Wings is another tech demo in the vein of the original Pilot Wings for the Super Nintendo and the 64, basically showing off what the system can do. It's got a really relaxing soundtrack, the events are a lot of fun, and it's just fun to play the game and enjoy a nice leisurely stroll around Woohoo Island. I really like Pilot Wings, and I think it's a great launch title for the Nintendo 3DS. It really seemed like forever for the next round of Nintendo 3DS titles to come out after the launch. But when games like Star Fox 3D came out and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D hit, the wait was definitely over. These are 2 excellent remakes, beautiful graphics, 3D looks excellent on both games. What a great way to go back and revisit a couple of classics on the 3DS. I thoroughly enjoyed Star Fox from start to finish. Multiple playthroughs are encouraged, and the 3D looks amazing. Ocarina of Time is a masterpiece, timeless, looks better than ever on the 3DS, and the 3D looks brilliant. Both of these games are highly recommended and are some great Nintendo classics brought to life again on the 3DS. Next up, we have the recently released Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, which you can see I've got next to its perfect companion piece, the original Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. And what a sequel this is, man. I really enjoy the Zelda games, probably more so than any other Nintendo franchise out there. This newest game did not disappoint. I was such a huge fan of A Link to the Past. I fell in love with that game back on the Super Nintendo. This is the sequel true fans have been waiting for, and if you have any interest in Zelda or action RPGs, do yourself a favor and pick up A Link Between Worlds. It looks great in 3D. There's beautiful remixed orchestral music. Just a classic in every sense of the word. We'll be saying the same thing about A Link Between Worlds as we say about A Link to the Past now. Great stuff from Nintendo. Kid Icarus Uprising was a game that was announced when the 3DS was announced. It looked great, and it was the game that made me really want to get a 3DS right away. It didn't quite make the launch window, but Kid Icarus is a game way back on the Nintendo that I remember playing, loving, and finishing as a kid. The Pit character, his world, I just fell in love with the game completely. I beat it multiple times, and I really have a soft spot in my heart for Kid Icarus. So seeing this game resurrected made me want the system that much more. As a game, it didn't disappoint. It's got some beautiful on-rail sections. Once again, the 3D is fantastic in this game. Excellent color palette, and just phenomenal voicing in this game. I wasn't prepared for the amount of chatter back and forth between Pit and Palutena. A true enjoyment to play, great dialogue, excellent music. This is a top-notch game. Next up is Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. And for a lot of people, they were disappointed when the GameCube launched that a new Mario game wasn't launching alongside the console. Instead, we got Luigi's Mansion. Now, I, for one, was ecstatic. I've always loved Luigi as a secondary character, and it was great to see him get his own spotlight. And Luigi's Mansion was a great game on the GameCube to boot. Really cool ghost trapping mechanic. Thankfully, that is all brought back for the 3DS sequel. Some new gameplay added to this game, different kinds of light workings with the vacuum and tandem. Ghost sucking has never been more fun. Excellent game, a technical marvel on the system, excellent graphics. Once again, the 3D is a sight to behold. The game looks amazing with the 3D on. Great storyline, great characters. Luigi's got a ton of personality in this game. A real standout game for the 3DS. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is fantastic. Here's a game that I just could not get into with past versions. I tried Animal Crossing on the GameCube and Wii, and on paper it sounds great, you know, managing your town, getting to know townsfolk, building up your reputation, doing everyday tasks, and customizing your house. That sort of thing sounds great, but I just couldn't get into them for whatever reason. But Animal Crossing New Leaf on the 3DS totally surprised me. I was addicted to this game, fishing and collecting different fossils and bugs and decorating my house, and being mayor just has a certain charm to it, and watching your town grow and planning different events totally hooked me. The real life holiday celebrated in this game is awesome. A great time waster and a really addictive experience to boot. Animal Crossing New Leaf is a great game on the 3DS. Here's a game I was extremely excited for, and it did not disappoint. I've always been a huge fan of the Fire Emblem strategy RPGs. Probably second favorite only to Shining Force. That's how much I like the Fire Emblem games, and this one did not disappoint. Fantastic graphics on the system, very addictive strategy RPG gameplay, great characters that you grow attached to. You do not want to see them die, because if they die for good. So you want to make every decision count. Just pure tactical bliss. Fire Emblem gets the highest recommendation. Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D is ported over from the Wii and is largely intact on the 3DS. The 3D looks great. This platformer gets tough as nails later on, but just a thoroughly enjoyable experience. Top-notch platforming, excellent looking game, great music. Fans of platformers definitely need to have Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D in their 3DS collection. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. Kingdom Hearts 3D Drop Distance is a good game on the 3DS. Now, Kingdom Hearts is a series that I've always wanted to love due to its combination of Final Fantasy characters and some great Disney characters from my childhood. However, the storyline really kind of keeps me from fully embracing this series. I don't know what quite is going on or what to make of the storyline. It can be very confusing at times. But this game looks great in 3D, and the core mechanics are rock solid. Excellent action RPG battle system, nice combat. This game adds a new feature where you can kind of like zip around the world and bounce off walls and slide down rails and kind of tie it all into a very exciting combat system. Kingdom Hearts, enjoyable series. I just wish I could relate to the story more. However, that being said, I still did enjoy my time with this game, and I feel it's an excellent addition to the series. Heroes of Ruin is a game that kind of snuck up on me out of nowhere. I've seen pictures of it in magazines and advertisements. It looked cool, but it looked a little generic. And upon playing this game, I was pleasantly surprised, man. It was a fun time. The co-op was drop in, drop out, very smooth. To my surprise, there's tons of people playing this online, so I've always had a really smooth experience getting online and playing with other people. The storyline won't win any awards. It's pretty standard stuff, but it's enjoyable nonetheless. There's cool locations to go to. There's awesome battles to fight. Boss battles are great. And the customization is pretty cool. Lots of cool new moves to learn and some interesting weapons. Pretty cool class variety. So if you're looking for an online dungeon crawler, Heroes of Ruin just might fit the bill. Rune Factory 4 is a really cool game. Unfortunately, I believe the studio that's behind these games closed up shop shortly after this game. But talk about a game with an immense amount of activities to do. This is it. Farming, schmoozing with the townsfolk, getting people to know who you are, building your name, reputation, relationship, stat tracking. A really cool combat system, tons of boss battles and grinding and enemies and all kinds of weapons. It's just a really cool game with a ton of stuff to do. A really soothing color palette in this game to me. I find the look of the visuals quite striking. Excellent looking trees and lush forests. Rune Factory 4 is definitely my kind of game. I'm really enjoying my time with it. And for those looking for a nice variety of different things to do in a game, definitely check out Rune Factory. Cave Story 3D is an early release for the 3DS, and surprisingly I had never played a version of this game up until I got it for the 3DS. I guess there's a lot of different ways to play this game, free to play, things like that. But this is an awesome action RPG of sorts, kind of a Metroidvania style exploration system in play. You play as a really cute little character, and he can level up his gun, and it's got a lot of challenge, pretty cool story, some excellent 3D, just a really cool little handheld adventure to go on here. So Cave Story 3D definitely surprised me. I think it's an excellent action game. Fans of the genre definitely need to have this game in their collection. Professor Layton's series of games are some of my favorite on the original DS. Level 5 has crafted an amazing text-based puzzle-solving adventure game full of top-notch cinemas, top-notch writing, excellent storylines. The puzzles will have you scratching your head. The quality of the animated cutscenes move the story along quite nicely, and everything looks very good on this 3DS iteration. One of my favorites in the series, Miracle Mask, is a top-notch game. If you like puzzle solving and text adventure games, then you definitely need to give the Professor Layton games a look. I think they're very well done in my opinion, and must-owns for fans of the genre. Next up we have Hakuoki. Now this was on the PSP, I believe. This is a port to the 3DS in 3D. Fans of Hitome text-based Japanese flair adventure games that don't mind reading, that's what you're going to be doing in this game. Branching storylines and quite a bit of violence await you in this tale of trying to find your father and being kidnapped, and all sorts of crazy Japanese characters, handling different situations, different outcomes based on the decisions you make. All that stuff is right up my alley, so I really enjoyed this game. If you're into text adventures, give this one a look. Next up we have Virtue's Last Reward, and this is a sequel to one of my favorite games on the Nintendo DS, 999. Now this is text-based puzzle solving at its finest. The original 999 was kind of like a Saw movie converted into video game form, where you're trapped on a sinking cruise ship and there's devilish puzzles that await. There's escape scenarios that are just totally intense. Very mature writing, lots of violence, and just an intense storyline. Solving puzzles and interacting with different characters, surviving, has never been more fun. I highly recommend that if you are into text-based kind of visual novel style puzzle solving games, that you definitely look into 999 and the sequel Virtue's Last Reward. Multiple playthroughs are encouraged as there are multiple endings. These games are some of the finest in their class, definitely must-owns. Next up on the 3DS we have Shinobi. And I know a lot of hardcore Shinobi fans didn't pay much attention to this or didn't want to play it because it was from a different developer and not much was hyped up about it. But I'm here to say, as a longtime Shinobi fan, I have all the games, I thoroughly enjoy this game. It is devilishly challenging. It's got a great combat system. The 3D in this game isn't the best, but it still gives it that added dimension. Awesome sword combinations, great magic, and very tough enemies and very tough boss battles. This one will test your gaming patience, and it's a very enjoyable action hack and slash platformer to boot. I thoroughly enjoyed this new Shinobi, and I'd like to see another game in this series from the same developer. Resident Evil Revelations is a very impressive game on the 3DS. One of the best looking games in the system. The game looks amazing in 3D, and this kind of brought Resident Evil back to its roots. Probably one of my favorite entries in the series, to be honest with you guys. Besides 2 and the remake, this is top of the line. An excellent storyline that you can follow along, that kept you interested and kept you gripped to the 3DS the whole way through. Excellent locations, excellent story, pacing, monsters. This game has it all. One of the finest console or handheld Resident Evils ever made. Highly recommended for fans of the series. Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate is a game that gets a lot of shit from Castlevania fans. And I, for one, am not a part of that crowd at all. I love Lords of Shadow, and I love this game here on the 3DS. A very similar style and music to the console game. And I'm going to tell you guys flat out, one of the best looking games in 3D on the system. Those 2.5D environments just pop off the screen with this 3D slider up. Visually an amazing looking game. Great gameplay, excellent locations, nice variety to the locations, and overall just an amazing Castlevania game on the go. Would I have liked to see more of the 2D style that we saw on the Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS? I would love to see a welcome return to that, but this will do in exchange a fantastic Castlevania experience on the 3DS. Next up, we have a spin-off to the Fatal Frame series. This is Spirit Camera: The Cursed Memoir. And although I like the idea and concept of this game, having an AR book that you flip the pages and kind of use interactively to play the game, the way it's pulled off is less than ideal. For one, it's a horror game, and you think you want to play a horror game in the dark with some headphones on. Well, that's not possible. You have to be in a very well-lit area for the camera to recognize the book, and you have to be able to spin around 360 degrees to capture ghosts and to find spirits at all different angles. So the best way to play this game is on an office chair where you can spin around 360 degrees in very bright light, which is not the ideal setting to play a horror game. With that being said, taken for what it is, I really enjoyed the game. It's very short, it can be completed rather quickly, and it's not really ideal for replay, but take it for what it is. I did enjoy the game. It can be quite spooky. I've heard people that have gone to abandoned buildings with a flashlight and played the game. Now that would be pretty cool, but on its own, still an enjoyable game. Next up is an excellent RPG on the system. This is Shin Megami Tensei 4. I'm such a big fan of the Mega 10 games. They are awesome. They are devilishly difficult. I love the demon fusing. I love the storylines, the different experimentations with fusing the demons. Just great games, excellent localization here by Atlas, a phenomenal storyline, and tons of challenge. If you're looking to get 70 to 80 hours of your life sucked away and have a great time doing it, definitely check out Shin Megami Tensei 4. Next up, we have a game that I was very surprised and happy at the same time that it made it over stateside. That is Project Cross Zone. This is a kind of strange mashup strategy RPG with characters from Capcom, Namco Bandai, and Sega. So some of my favorite characters from Virtua Fighter, some of my favorite characters from Tales, and a lot of the Capcom classics like Mega Man and Frank West from Dead Rising, Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter, all make appearances here. The story is just out of control nonsense. I don't know what the hell's going on. And it's basically very repetitive, the same thing over and over again. The battles can last upwards of a half hour, 45 minutes. But the over-the-top animations and crazy finishers and crazy combo links are just awesome. This game got a little old after a while towards the end, but I thoroughly enjoyed it from beginning to end. If you're looking for a quirky kind of strategy RPG with an active battle system, definitely check out Project Cross Zone. It's definitely a sight to see all these characters come together for one special game. Code of Princess, one of my favorite games on the system, as you can see by my love for Solange here in statue form. This game is amazing. I was such a huge fan of Guardian Heroes, and this is done by like the same team. Excellent beat 'em up game. You can switch between three different planes of the screen. Excellent animation in this game. A really charming story. I fell in love with this game from start to finish. If you're a fan of Guardian Heroes and Treasure style beat 'em ups, then definitely take a look at Code of Princess. A very heartwarming, hand-drawn, hand-animated, just an excellent game that I enjoyed thoroughly. Beat 'em up fans, definitely check it out. Shin Megami Tensei Soul Hackers is a long-lost Sega Saturn RPG that never made it out of Japan until now. Here on the 3DS, the game is somewhat dated, but in other aspects it feels extremely fresh. Once again, a first-person dungeon crawler, this time redone with amazing voice acting, a really solid story. You join the Spookies, which is like a computer hacker gang, and for the time it came out, the ideas in this game are pretty like future-centric. There's like a Paradigm X, which is like the internet that people go to, a virtual world, and explore. A really cool storyline, and I really enjoyed the gameplay mechanics. Once again, fusing the demons is addictive as ever. This is a great, long-lost RPG that I'm really glad finally made it out to these shores. Soul Hackers is an excellent RPG on the 3DS. Etrian Odyssey Untold: The Millennium Girl is the newest game in the long-running Etrian Odyssey series that started off on the DS. These are first-person hardcore dungeon crawlers. The bottom screen is used to kind of draw your own map as you make your way through these complex dungeons. This game changes things up by giving you an actual storyline with like preset characters and backgrounds to kind of play along with and give the game more personality. For me, it totally worked. I really enjoyed this game. Once again, look to spend anywhere from 50 to 80 hours in this mammoth game. The challenge is just right, and I really enjoyed the characters and storyline in this. First-person dungeon crawler fans, will find a lot to love in the Etrian Odyssey series. I hope you guys have enjoyed taking a look at my 3DS collection. I know I've had a lot of fun sharing my games and talking with you guys. The 3DS system is unlimited in its potential. I think it's got an awesome catalog of games that gets stronger each month. I'm really looking forward to Bravely Default next month and a lot of other RPGs coming out for the system. I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for watching. And always remember that Games of War is nothing without you.